So when we're dealing with improper fractions and mixed numbers, we need to kind of go through the same procedure again, but remember that we always make sure that we have a common denominator. So the first one that we're going to look at here is 7 over 3 and 5 over 4. We'll notice again uncommon denominators, so we need to make them the same. So we're going to multiply this by 4 and we're going to multiply this by 3. So this will be 28 over 12 minus 15 over 12 as well. Subtract 28 minus 15 is 13 over 12, and that is in simplest form. So again, we need to multiply by a certain value. We have to try to figure out what that value is, and then we can subtract. Second one, 3 over 2 minus 1/8. We'll notice that this actually isn't an improper fraction, but that's okay. We can still subtract with just a regular fraction. It's just two regular fractions. Now, but we need to make sure that they have the same denominator. So we have a 2 here and we have an 8 there. 2 can become 8 by multiplying by 4. So we'll have 12 over 8 minus 1 over 8. And we don't have to change that second one due to the fact that we're able to make it common a little bit simpler. 12 minus 1 is 11 over 8. We're left with an improper fraction. And again, like that one, we could change it into a mixed number if we really wanted to, but we don't have to. This is simplified though, because nothing can be divided into 11 and into 8, as 11 is a prime number. Now let's move on to mixed numbers. Now these are a little bit more complicated. Let's start with, remember we may have to borrow. Start with the fractions, right? 1/2 and 1/3. Well, they're not the same, so get my pen to work here. Multiply by 3, multiply by 2. Just deal with fractions for the time being. This is 3 over 6 minus 2 over 6. 3 minus 2 is 1, 1/6. Now we deal with the whole numbers. 4 minus 2 is 2. And so we take both of these and we get 2 and 1/6. That's going to be our final answer. That's not a 12, that's a 2. Got to make it into the box. There we go. A little bit fancy lines. 2 and 1/6, that will be our final answer. Now, what happens when our second fraction is bigger than our first fraction? Well, then we're going to have to borrow, right? We're going to have to borrow a little bit. So let's take a look here. We have 1/3 and 5/6. First things let's do, let's make them into common denominator. So we can make the 3 into a 6 by just multiplying this by 2. So this will be 2 over 6 minus 5 over 6. We need to borrow. So we're going to borrow from there. That becomes a 1. And this then, we add a 6. So this becomes 8 over 6 minus 5 over 6. Now you'll notice here, this kind of gets changed because we are borrowing. Okay, and that's part of borrowing. We're borrowing the number of sections of 1, which is the bottom, so we add that to the top. Now 8 minus 5 is 3 over 6. We can divide both by 3, and this becomes 1 over 2. And then we have 1 minus 1, which equals 0, so we don't have to put that in front. So our final answer is 1/2. Okay, that becomes our final answer, as that is the fraction that's left over, meaning we don't have any whole numbers. Now that's because we had to borrow the 1 to make our first fraction a bit bigger so that we didn't get a negative. Now a couple sections of questions. Questions 10 and 12, which will deal with improper fractions and mixed numbers. And then there are a number of word problems to try out, which deal with adding and subtracting fractions, numbers 13 to 17.